Friends, on behalf of ANANTA IAS Academy, today I will be discussing with you some major points for the general knowledge purpose. Normally, the neglected part in our country is sports, the games and sports. In fact, the ministry itself it is not an independent ministry. It is clubbed with youth and sports. The minister also is a minister of state. Sometimes it is minister of state, independent charge. Presently, the minister for youth and sports is Mr. Kiran Razu from Arunachal Pradesh. He is a law graduate and he is a faculty of law in the University of Delhi when he became a member of parliament. In 2019, when Modi II government came into power, he was given the independent charge of youth and sports. He is running the ministry for the last 2 years. Earlier to him, Rajyavardhan Singh Rathod, who himself was a sports person and an established personality, he was looking after this ministry. He knows the subject and he was in charge of that ministry. What is the present status of the sports? There is no encouragement. So not only the sports persons, but the elite and the intellectuals also feel that there are no coaches, sufficient coaches, and well-trained coaches also. The maintenance of the stadia, different sports stadias, they are not up to the mark. The sports academics is also not prevalent in India. Whereas in foreign countries, there are universities which teach sports as optional subject. For example, Marshall University of West Virginia in USA, they are training graduates of BBA with sports as an additional subject. My own grandson, Mr. Mihir, he went recently for completion of his BBA, and football, soccer, they call them it as a soccer as an optional subject, and he has already completed 1 year and he is in the second year to run now. Similarly, in Bangalore, the second grandson, Mr. Mayank, he is studying in a Jain university where from the beginning of intermediate itself, sports is, particularly football, is part of the academic subjects. They give you intermediate and by BBA also. So this is the present structure of India and in the foreign countries also. The sponsorship for cricket is more. BCSGI and other agencies are there for cricket sponsorship and encouragement of crickets, and it is a well-known game now. And as a sports person, they earn a lot of money also. Whereas the other games or sports, they are not of a similar strategy or status. For example, football in India, it is not even second or third, it is in the 4th grade. Recently, Ambani's wife, Neetu Ambani, she has sponsored one football team and she is giving a lot of encouragement to them. In sports also, the sports academicians are very less. Coaches like Pullela Gopichan, they have started an academy. In Bangalore also, there are 1 or 2 academies running with this. To quote as an example in our country, we have P.T. Usha, Karanam Malliswari of yesteryears, P.V. Sindhu, Sania Mirza. These are the very, very few people who have come into the limelight and who are participating in the international sports events. There is a sports quota also in railways. Some of the outstanding sports personalities, they are given percentage of weightage in the recruitment level. Sachin Tendulkar was made a member of parliament. He has been awarded Bharata Ratna, which is of great importance to our country. But the employment opportunities for the sports persons are very, very, very less. The percentage of 5% quota or whatever it is, it doesn't satisfy the sports persons who want to pursue their career in sports. National games, we are not in a position to give a lot of coaching for the national games. In the Indian context, For the Olympics, we hosted it in 1984 when Srimati Indira Gandhi was there as Prime Minister of India. That time, she introduced for this commentary broad telecast the color TV. In 84, it was a very major event in the electronic industry. Color TV has started, and we were able to telecast all the Olympic Games in the color TV transmission. But unfortunately, the 1984 October on 31st October 1984, Srimati Gandhi was assassinated, and her funeral was to be shown on color TV. It was her contribution, and even now we are having the correct pictures on television. Then comes the old age pensions for sports persons. Normally, a sports person can do his best until the age of 45 or 50. Then he has to normally retire. So there was a provision for pensions also. That is also not sufficient. The apathy of government organizations, all state governments, is very at a very low level. The training colleges also for training the PETs and physical education trainers, it is also not up to the standard. Coming to sports federations, lot of sports federations are there. They are encouraging each individual. The rural games have not come into picture. They are not being encouraged. For example, kabaddi, chadugudu, or whatever it is. Our volleyball teams, football teams are not in the present context in a greater extent. The budget allotment of 2021-22, sports have been given an amount of 2,596 crores. In 2016, during the UPA government, it was only 97.52 crores. This year, for Khelo India, 657 crores has been allotted, and this is the year of Olympic Games. In fact, last year in Tokyo, the Olympic Games were supposed to be conducted, but due to the pandemic, they have been postponed to July 23rd to August 8th, and we have to wait whether they will be able to conduct it or not. The sports events also, they are not covered in a proper way by the newspapers, but all the newspapers at the last pages, they give sports coverages very well. All India Radio and Doordarshan, they have trained very good commentators. They give on the national hookup also. There is a DD Sports channel also. There are different TV channels only exclusively for the TV, for sports events. And it is a very encouraging thing. And almost 20 to 30 channels are there available in our country. The government of India, they have taken a very good decision called as Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya National Fund for Sports Person. This is important in our prelims point of view. They may ask you, what is this Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya National Fund? This is a financial assistance for the sports persons. It was set up in March 1982 to assist the outstanding sports persons of yesteryears. Those who have become old or they retired, they have to get some pension. So this has been given as an assistance. The scheme was revised in May 2016 when NDA government of Modi government came to provide lump sum ex gratia amount so that he can sustain that particular sports person, he can sustain on his own legs. The provision of pension has been done away from 2016. This is a very sad affair because most of the people who are there, they may not be able to sustain their families, and at least they should get some pension, but somehow it has been dismantled. Then what is the objective of this Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya National Fund, you may ask? To provide assistance to the indigent sports persons, those who are not healthy, to assist injured people, because in games and sports, there is all possibilities to get injuries, and they may not be able to run again or they may not be able to participate in the games. In our Olympic tally also, we are lagging behind. In the World Games also, Indian medals are very less. We get only 1 or 2 gold medals, 2 or 3 silver medals, and the rest of them are not up to the mark. So compared to the other countries, we are not in a position to train or establish ourselves in the sports events. The welfare of the sports persons also is a point in the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya National Fund. This much we have to learn about the sports events. Then I will come to another important aspect of personal guarantee liable for corporate debts. This is a very intrinsic problem, because most of the people, they start a company and they take their own friends or relatives as guarantors. And when the company goes for insolvency and their debt is heavy, the banks are in soup. Most of the bank managers or corporate banks chairman, they have been accused in the courts for giving such amounts, and the repayment of facility also is very bad, and they are not in a position to repay. And some of them very big industrialists, they are not paying at all. So Supreme Court of India in November 2019, they gave a judgment. Here we have to look into the aspects of this insolvency. In 2019, Government of India notified that the banks can move against the personal guarantor under Indian Bankruptcy and Insolvency Code. What is this code? A person who has started a company or a factory with the loan from a bank, a nationalized bank, after 3 years or 4 years, he is not able to produce or he wants to dupe the bank, he gives a notice for insolvency. Then the bank proceedings, they will start, they will go to the court for adjudication. The adjudicator will come into effect, and then whether the guarantor is liable for making the payment or not. This clause is discussed in the Supreme Court of India. So the Supreme Court upheld the move of Government of India that the guarantor also is liable for making the payment. Justice S. Ravindra Bhatt delivered the judgment, and the decision boosted the recovery efforts of the banks. Otherwise, the bankers, they are not in a position to get the money which they have given on loan. At the time of taking the loan, they will give you so many assurances, and they will give you a lot of pressure from political side also. And most of the politicians, the members of parliament or very heavy industrialists, they take loan and they are not in a position to completely write off or pay off this dues. Then the Indian Bankruptcy Code was enacted in 2016. What is this Bankruptcy Code? If a company wants to go for bankruptcy, they should inform the bank that they are not in a position to completely clear off the debt, and these are the reasons, and they may have to go for the adjudication. The insolvency professionals, a cadre has to be created, and it has been created. They will discuss, they will provide the banks with the insolvency intelligence. Then insolvency professional agencies are also created. Adjudicating authorities have also been formed. They adjudicate between the bank and the company, and finally they will come to a conclusion that this much of amount is due, and the interest may be waived off or whatever it is. At least the principal amount is to be paid by the person who has taken the amount. The Insolvency Bankruptcy Board has been formed by Reserve Bank of India to help the banks. This is the situation regarding the RBI. Then, what is the role of RBI in funding government purposes? This is a very major event which happened in 2021-22. The RBI have transferred 99,122 crores surplus amount to the government of India. What is the surplus amount and how it came? RBI is the major bank, that is the final bank. Earlier it was called as a federal bank. And when India became independent, it was named as the Reserve Bank of India with headquarters at Bombay. And there are regional offices at different places. This year, RBI, Shishikant, who is the present chairman of the RBI, he was earlier finance secretary to the government of India. This RBI transferred the amount of 99,122 crores for the period of 9 months ended March 31st of 2021. Because government of India, due to pandemic and other difficulties, they are not in a position to get their revenues. So they needed some money to assist. So the contingency risk buffer maintained was 5.5%. And how it helps the government? It helps the government to battle with the corona war. This corona is giving a lot of stress on the economy of India, and they are not in a position to get the projects through. So to help the economic recovery, Reserve Bank of India has donated this amount. It can be the RBI founded in 1934. During the British government's time only, the federal bank has come into force, and under the Act of RBI 1934, Reserve Bank of India came into existence. RBI should transfer its profits to government. That is the act. RBI, if get a surplus amount, they should give the profit to government of India also. Every year, RBI pays dividend to government of India. RBI board headed by Y.H. Mallegam in 2013, he has recommended higher amounts of transfer to government of India. RBI also is like a public sector undertaking. When you are getting a lot of profits, you should give dividends to government of India. So a question may come, how RBI earns? It is in 2 or 3 ways. Number one, it returns earned on its foreign currency assets. The amount which they get from foreign currency assets, and then interest on their holdings and management commission. These are the 3 ways they get the revenue. And how the expenditure is done from RBI: printing of currency notes, expenditure on the salaries of the RBI staff. There are a huge number of staff members in RBI. So the expenditure is partly on the staff expenditure, and currency notes, they are printed at RBI and other places. In Hyderabad also we have a mint where only the coins are minted. Currencies also is a very important thing. Depending upon the gold reserves, the currency is issued by RBI. Then I will switch on to another important agricultural sector, horticulture. There is a mission for integrated development of horticulture. This is known as MIDH, Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture. What is this? Horticulture is the main occupation in India in the rural agrarian sector. Horticulture gives a lot of employment potential also, and it is an industry. So centrally a sponsored scheme is the present integrated development of horticulture. It provides technical support. The Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, recently they have renamed Ministry of Agriculture into Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Farmers Welfare also is more important. That is why they are giving MSP also, minimum support price. And Government of India contributes 85% to all states for this fund, except Northeast states and Himachal Pradesh. 15% is to be shared by the states. Let me be clear here. Government of India contributes 85% to all the states except Northeast and Himachal Pradesh. Rest of the 15% is to be contributed by the other states. Then you may have a doubt why the Northeast and Himachal have been excluded from it. 100% subsidy is given to these states. For Northeast and Himachal, 100% subsidy is given in this fund. The sub-scheme in this is the National Horticulture Mission is there. There is a Coconut Development Board. There is a Central Institute of Horticulture, National Bamboo Mission. All these missions, they give a lot of provision for the encouragement of the horticulture. These are the points which I wanted to discuss with you today. Tomorrow, I will go through the other aspects.